All right, welcome everyone. I'm seeing people still filtering in here this morning. We are going to go ahead and get started. I see a lot of names I know, a lot that I don't, and I'm excited to talk to each of you and introduce some concepts here about best practices, asset tracking, give you some information on Asset Panda, and just talk with you today about tool tracking primarily. So ramp up the power of your job site with Asset Panda. I'm excited to get started and walk you through this. A few housekeeping items before we do dive too far in. On the webinar console, you'll see a multitude of different panels there. One of those is a resources tab. This is great for links to our website, to case studies, white papers, as well as some resources that would link you to more user collaboration tools like our Bamboo Crew Facebook page. So if you're a current Asset Panda client, check that out. If not, we hope that you become one very soon. And obviously there are some others that are ebooks. We find these super helpful. It's one of the highest downloads that we have when we do things like these webinars. And I think that they're a great resource and tool for you and your teams about just general best practice asset tracking, as well as user adoption. And that's a great ebook that our marketing team put together. So be sure to check those out. In addition, there's a Q&A box there. We will be answering any questions that you have after the webinar, and hopefully you feel confident enough to poke in there and talk with us. So the other thing that you'll see is the multimedia player. There are some recordings here demonstrating some of the stuff we're going to be talking about today in the Asset Panda system, so I highly recommend that you make sure that that's available. Crank up the volume, and let's get started. Okay, so this is kind of the basics. What is an asset management tool? Primarily, this is a platform, a software that is going to enable your business. That's really what we're here for, is to ensure that you know what you have, where it is, what condition it's in, and some of the basics, but there are some more advanced functionality that we really want to make sure that you understand and know is available to you. In addition, an asset management tool shouldn't change your business processes. It should accommodate those, right? So be on the lookout for something that's highly configurable to your business processes and something that enables you versus restricts you and the way that your teams work. One of the things that we really take pride in here at Asset Panda is that we want to really understand your business processes and marry those to the system through a highly configurable application. But ultimately, it's there to make sure that you know what you have when you purchased it, the cost of those items. And if you're not tracking those things right now, these are definitely areas for huge improvement for you and implementing a tool that helps you get there. So why is it important? We kind of just touched on this, obviously, and that's the concept that you have that information, and that information should help drive business decisions for you. Things like purchasing, what types of equipment perform better than others, what types last longer. You'll be able to see those things through repair history, calibration, maintenance, seeing a scheduled maintenance calendar, obviously, for those tools as well. And then just general things like, hey, do we have everything that we purchased, right? Can we make sure that we hold ourselves accountable to ensuring that we know that we have these things and they're not walking off job sites, getting stuck in trucks somewhere and never making it back to a warehouse or a shop, and just being accountable for those items more so for the items that you've purchased, and that's money that's going out the door, and we want to make sure that those are items that you keep. That kind of leads me into our next topic of conversation really quickly here, just as a brief introduction of what we'll get into today. But some of the challenges that we come into contact with our clients who have implemented Asset Panda as their asset tracking solution, and some of the things that we've helped them overcome. So these are ones that are probably very obvious. Hopefully, not everyone on this call has these problems, especially if you're an Asset Panda customer. But these are definitely some of the things that we speak to and hear a lot. If you do have these challenges, I think this will pretty much hit home for you. So the first one of those is stalled productivity, right? So obviously, if you don't know that you have the tools to do a particular job, but you think that you do, you do that, you have a scheduled start date, everyone arrives at the job site, and you're missing things, right? This is a huge problem, and it's one that we've helped solve in the past. But being able to really understand the whereabouts of those tools and make sure that they're scheduled properly is huge for a lot of our clients, to make sure that they don't have resources standing there on a job site waiting for someone, or better yet, not even having to go out and purchase these items ad hoc and just go grab those, obviously adding to the expense of that particular job and cutting into profit margins. Low tool utilization. So let's talk about the ones that the items that you do have that are sitting on the shelf, right? Because maybe we made some bad purchase decisions. We don't want to have tools sitting around for several reasons. One of those is that it's an investment that you made, and you need to be using it to get the ROI out of that purchase. Stolen and lost equipment. This is a really easy problem to solve with things like an audit tool. If you know who you checked it out to and it's MIA, we need to go track those things down, right? And an audit is a great way to do that. Regularly scheduled audits. We'll talk more about that here in a moment, but it is definitely one of the challenges that we've come into contact with, we talk about, and we've faced and helped solve in the past. Tool hoarding. This one's interesting to me, but the concept that, hey, I don't want to have to share, right? And I'm going to keep these things in my truck. There's two sides to that. One is I'm always prepared, right? And the next one is we need these for other jobs. And if we schedule them properly, if we just have transparency and visibility into the upcoming jobs, what we have, and where it's located, we can certainly kind of spread the love, share those tools out, and make sure that we are accommodating the folks who need those at the moment, to make sure that something's getting done. Inefficiency, I think this kind of goes back to the stalled productivity conversation, and the idea that that any of these challenges that we face cause tremendous inefficiency in our organization. Lost revenue. So if we don't have the tools, if we don't have the resources, if we don't have visibility into our potential shortfalls, right? We could seriously lose out on some opportunities. And there's some forecasting and future planning things that we can speak to here in a little while that really speak to this point. We don't want to miss out on those opportunities. We don't want to have stalled productivity on a job site, because all of those are dollars going out, but they cost us, right? And so we're leaving that money on the table if we don't really have a great tracking system in place. And the biggest one, I think, and the reason I'm finishing it with this, is because the lack of visibility is really kind of the trigger and what causes all of the rest of these. They are a result of just the sheer lack of visibility that we have into our tools, where they are, who has them, how much they cost us, repairs, maintenance, and everything in between. If you had something that gave you that complete transparency, most of these problems that we see listed here would be solved. Right, so that's going to be one of our big topics of conversation today, and how we overcome that. Awesome, so that kind of takes me directly into our key takeaways and discussion points for today. The first of those is, how does an asset management tool help us prevent lost and stolen items? I'm giving you the answer here, right? And I'm going to take you into a bit of a demo of Asset Panda's audit tool on the web. Also, forecasting future expenditures. This is a really big one for us too. I think that there's a significant financial impact to having a great tool and tracking items accordingly. In addition, providing you with the visibility to that you need ultimately. That is kind of the gateway to being able to reap all of the other benefits of an asset management system. So the first one we see here is preventing those lost and stolen items. Performing regular audits can solve a number of those pain points, right? Stolen and lost equipment, obviously. Tool hoarding, lost revenue, inefficiencies in our processes. We do have a feature that allows you to schedule regular audits, send reminders to those users, GPS stamp where those items were scanned. If you don't have your items barcoded, it is one of the things that we definitely highly recommend. And all of this can be performed on the go, which takes me into our next topic here. Make sure you use a system that makes this part easy. We don't want to spend hours and hours doing inventory audits. And we certainly, there's the concept of an annual inventory or a cycle count. Keeping up with these on maybe a monthly basis, quarterly basis, and sharing that responsibility out and not just having one person who has to audit all of these items is a great way to keep up with these things on a regular basis, right? And there's a lot of time saving and a lot of cost saving in payroll dollars specifically in doing this quickly, easily, mobile, on the go. Do it via the mobile app. That way, you're at a job site, someone is responsible for taking an inventory, they scan these items, they save it and submit it, and you get a pretty report that says, hey, this is everything that we say is here at this job site. Here's everything that the system says is at that job site, and here's the delta. We need to go find these items, right? But not waiting and not doing it maybe once a year or once every 6 months, I think is a great practice. Again, you're going to save a lot of payroll dollars, and you'll have much more transparency and accountability on a much more regular and frequent basis. And sharing that responsibility I think is key to this conversation, and making sure that the folks who are actually using those tools, who have them, who know their whereabouts, who know their condition, are the ones who we're actually having assist and make sure that that's a shared responsibility between an inventory manager, warehouse manager, and the people who are out on these job sites. And Asset Panda makes that really easy to do. There's an unlimited user model that can be implemented to ensure that these folks have the tools necessary to make sure that they are helping, right? And they are doing their part and they're accountable for those items. Let's hop into Asset Panda really quick and show you the audit feature, and we'll take a peek and demonstrate how to set one of those up. So here we are in the Asset Panda environment, and I've navigated directly to the audit feature here under the tools menu. So once you land on audit, basically we have quite a few options here, and the audits are pretty configurable to your needs. So if we create one, the idea that we can name this is, maybe you name it by job site audit. And then, of course, we want to leverage the most efficient way to do this, which is definitely via barcode scan. You do have the option to manually enter an ID number or allow the system to prompt you each time for, do I want to scan or do I want to manually enter an ID? But by far, the method of barcode scanning is going to be the most efficient. So performing the audit on the mobile app is going to be key to I think, to get a lot of buy-in too from your users. We do see higher product adoption because someone can walk around with Asset Panda in their pocket, basically, right? So again, we can throw in a start date, maybe a due date as well. That's always a great idea if you want to make sure that we're getting these in on time and we're seeing that accountability factor there. And of course, you can make this recurring. You could also say, I want to do this every month. I want to do it every 6 months, and assign those users out accordingly. I mentioned this a few moments ago about recording that GPS location. I think when we're auditing items that are scattered and all over the place, you'll be able to see the coordinates of where that actual item was scanned. So I say I have something and it's on this job site, prove it, let's make sure that that's its location, right? And if we continue, in Asset Panda, the concept of groups is just collections of data. So your tools might sit in one group. You might have fleet in another. Some inventory or quantity-based items that you want to track the stock levels of might sit in an inventory group. Of course, job sites, things like work orders and so forth. These all link together to paint a pretty picture of what's going on, but the data does sit in collections of their own. So I am, in this example, I'm going to audit my tools group. And then maybe I want to see the description of each tool to understand and make sure that I've scanned the right one. You can also put some handy filters on here. And this might be that the job site that it's assigned to is a particular job site that's pulling from your sites group. So whenever you assign this tool to a particular job site or someone checks it out, the record's obviously updated, and maybe if we're auditing just that job site here, we would be able to select that filter. You do have the ability to auto-update fields of information through the audit to say if the system finds this in a different job site and it's scanned at the job site we're auditing, then we want to update it to the current job site. Completely up to you. I have a lot of clients who say, nope, I want to see the data in its raw state, and then I will make the decision as to whether or not we want to move that, if it's supposed to be there in the first place, and that type of thing. So, or again, you can just make those auto update, completely up to you. And then of course we have the ability to assign it. So we can assign this to a specific user, to a group of users, or a particular email. You can also make this an individual audit for each user who it's assigned to has to do their particular part of this. And then of course a brief quick summary here. Of what you just did, and then creating that audit. So this audit's ready to go. It's open. The user is going to get a notification that says, let's audit this, let's audit this job site. Maybe it has a due date, and then you can track and see the status. How many of these items have actually been scanned? And at the end of this audit, you'll get a nice pretty report that tells you any discrepancies, any deltas, and that is up in the reporting section. All right, let's jump into forecasting. So one of the challenges I think that a lot of our clients face when they came to us to implement Asset Panda is the idea that there's a bit of lack of transparency into understanding the cost of maintaining the assets, the repair history, and knowing when these things reach the end of life so that we can budget and forecast properly for future expenditures. So as we have more insight into the state and age of our assets, we can more easily forecast necessary replacements and budgets. And more insight means I can see the repair histories. I can start to establish and understand a baseline of how many times do these items need to be repaired and fixed and so forth until I have to retire the asset, right? So starting to understand and get some analytics behind future purchases that need to be made, but also I think the flip side of this is not over purchasing too, right? So not just knowing when you need to purchase something and being able to see that clearly through the data, but also saying, we traditionally purchase this many things at the end of the year, but there might be a likelihood that we don't need to. So there's a cost savings there as well. And of course, the challenges that are solved by this are, inefficiencies, lost revenue, low tool utilization, those things sitting on the shelf as well. And I think that one of the things that really, really provides this transparency in Asset Panda are workflows and actions that allow the end users to constantly update and maintain the record of the asset. So doing things like reporting damage, and then having, or something's out of commission, it's under repair, and having a work order tied back to that asset that shows us what happened, any associated costs with repairing that item. Obviously if it's reached end of life, that we would retire that asset through a workflow as well. But being able to really see repair history, utilization on tools, so that we can say, we purchased this 5 years ago and we know that it has a lifespan of 5 years, and we can see a replenishment date in the system. So the reporting feature obviously is going to give you insight into those actions and the activity that's happening in the system as well. So here we are back in Asset Panda, and I just want to run you through the reporting section here really quickly. So if I navigate to the reports section, I have multiple different types of reports. The first of those is group reports. This is going to report on that static information on your tool records, or any record for that matter. Maybe it's a job site or a vehicle, but these group reports will allow you to pull information that sits on those records into a report for summarization. You can export it to Excel to kind of slice and dice that data yourself. Action reports correspond back to the workflow I was referring to. So show me all the times a particular asset has been repaired, or show me in general all of the repairs for a certain period of time, right? Maybe show me the checkout history of a particular asset. And so those actions and that history would live on the records and can be extracted through the action reports section. Change reports are a great way for you to be able to, if something changes on a record, it doesn't look quite right for you, or maybe somebody makes some mass updates in the system, you can go in, check out a change report, see exactly what was changed. This information also lives on each individual record, but if you needed to see it in a collection, you would be able to generate a report that way. The audit reports, we just went through audit. Once I complete an audit, I would be able to reference the summary of that audit through a corresponding audit report. For this example, I think we'll just run a quick tools by site, right? Just show me where everything is and its location. So I already have a canned report set up here. Again, the output can be PDF, CSV, Excel, or even a quick screen report. And then, of course, I have some formatting options here. But in this case, I just want to see all of my tools and some specific information about them. These are fields of information that you can pull on and off of your report. And I want it grouped by the job site. So when I save that and then I run this report, it comes up and it looks like this, right? This is our report of our items at particular job sites. So in my test Asset Panda environment, I have 2 of these tools allocated to the job site Allen, and then of course the rest of them are not categorized, or maybe they're not checked out to a job site, but rather they're sitting in the warehouse. All right, so visibility, this is the kind of overarching goal here, right, is that if we have true visibility into what we have, its whereabouts, its condition, the financial information associated with that, then all of the other benefits and a lot of the other challenges that we mentioned and talked about earlier would be solved, right? So being able to see utilization reporting, I think, is one of the key things that a lot of our clients in this industry really flock to Asset Panda for. You can certainly have a counter, basically a field on your record that says, show me the total number of days an item has been on a job site over a certain period of time, right? For example, if I wanted to see 2020 utilization, I would be able to make sure that that field counted the number of days that this item was out at a job site for the entire year, and then be able to report on that accordingly. Again, knowing what assets you have, where they are, what condition, that's kind of the baseline framework for all of this, right? That kind of is the propeller for our ability to make better decisions, understand what's going on out on those job sites with our tools and our team members and so forth. And one of the things I really want to speak about is making sure that you create a system that works for you. Obviously, I'm going to tout Asset Panda a bit here, but make sure that it's configurable. Make sure that you have some flexibility into ensuring that the system works the way your business works, right? We here at Asset Panda are asset tracking experts, and we can certainly help you in that regard, but you know your business better than anyone, right? Let's make sure that the two can come together, whatever system you use, to build a tool that, number one, your users are going to actually adopt and use. That's so critical and key to your success with any asset management platform, because they're the ones that are actually using these things and know where they are and what status they're in. So making sure that you adopt a platform that is highly configurable to your business needs, I think, is number one important. Secondly, like I mentioned, we're experts in asset tracking. And I think it's important that you, as a consumer, have the support and background and expertise of the product that you're working with. So Asset Panda's implementation and onboarding team has an expertise in standing up environments for our construction and tool tracking clients. We understand best practices. A lot of times when you come to us, we kind of know a lot of the challenges and things that you struggle with and that have been pain points in either adopting a system that you've already tried or just the lack of one, right? And Asset Panda's team is here and ready to help you get that system set up. And then, of course, I can't drive this one home enough, but having that mobile app really maximizes the value of your investment in an asset management platform. Like I said earlier, being able to kind of put that app and take Asset Panda with you in your back pocket is huge. The daunting task of asset management, if you don't have something that makes it easy and just right there, is, you'll start to see, if you don't leverage a mobile app, you'll start to see people not updating records properly, and you're kind of back to square one, right? So making sure that you have that visibility, I think these are three key components that really lend themselves toward really understanding your asset situation and environment. A few client anecdotes here and some success stories I wanted to share with you that kind of really just had an impact on us and the way that we were talking about asset tracking. Our client, Kincaid Civil Construction, calls Asset Panda a CFO's best friend. This just really speaks to the time and money savings, and we all know that those two things are kind of go hand in hand, right? And then obviously they've had a tremendous experience with the Asset Panda team. So shout out to all of the Asset Panda folks for really making sure that this client was successful. But they actually know where all their equipment's located. They can track maintenance, job sites, and really have some visibility and save about 4 hours a day by using the app. In addition, interactive construction actually uses Asset Panda for forecasting. So this is one of our big topics of conversation today. And specifically, they're putting an emphasis here. They know what they have and actually are not making unnecessary and costly duplicate purchases by leveraging Asset Panda. And they also tout that their crews are becoming more responsible. So that's that shared responsibility sort of factor that goes into all of this, right? And then, of course, budgeting and planning for future equipment purchases. Awesome. So I hope that you found this super helpful and that you're inclined to talk to us. Any questions that you've asked throughout the presentation, those will be responded to. You're going to hear back from us and make sure that you've got, those questions answered and any information that you need, whatever you're curious about. But we really want to encourage you to talk with us. If you are looking for an asset management platform, obviously we'd love to speak with you. If you're an existing Asset Panda client and you found this helpful and maybe haven't implemented some of these things, come back to us, chat with us, and we're more than happy to help you get to your full potential with the Asset Panda platform. Visit us online at assetpanda.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.